This episode is sponsored by the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Hollywood Casino and ESPN Bet want to help you get ready for football season. Download the ESPN Bet app today and explore an action-packed online sportsbook. Then stop in the casino to catch the action in person with a tailgate party on November 17th. Visit HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com to see how you can reserve your package. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Comedian Paula Poundstone cracks up the Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia on November 22nd and 23rd. She joined me to preview her stand-up show and react to the political aftermath of last week's election. Hey, Paula Poundstone. Hey, thanks so much for joining the show again today.
Yeah, nice to be with you.
We are talking because you are coming to the historic Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia on November 22nd and 23rd, so get your tickets now. I mean, I think this might be like the fifth time we've spoken on here. I think the first was in 2016, so it was like, Trump versus Clinton. 2020, Trump Biden during COVID, all that stuff. And then we talked again in 2021, right after January 6th. And then I guess the 2022 midterms and now 2024. Yeah, wow. So do you like coming to the nation's capital after all these big events? Like, you never cease to have stuff to talk about, especially this time.
Well, there's always stuff to talk about. I do love coming to the nation's capital, or the nation's bedroom community of the nation's capital. I remember 2016 so vividly, being there because it must have been like earlier in the month, because I remember it was the first place that I had been after the election, and it was so much fun to be with the Birchmere audience in the midst of a situation that didn't feel like you think to yourself at some point, gee, I'm never going to laugh again. It's never true, but you certainly feel that way. So it was great to be with the Birchmere audience in the aftermath of the 2016 election. And it will be great to be with the Birchmere audience in the aftermath of whatever the hell that was that just happened.
Oh my God. Like, it's crazy that we're talking, when you were there in 2016. And at that time, I'm sure you and I and everyone in that audience was thinking, like, how could it get any wilder than this? Because that was what, like, Access Hollywood tape and all the naming of the little Marcos, Crooked Hillary, we had never seen our system stress test like we had back then in 2016. And just to think that how much has transpired in the 4-year increment since, and now we're here in 2024. I mean, I just can't believe our system could be tested any more than it has been. So wow. How did you spend election night?
I have wait, I have to let my dog out, so if the sound changes, it's because I'm letting the dog out.
Wait, you didn't eat the dog, right?
No. And let me just say, I've always had, in my adult life, I've always had a lot of cats. Yeah. And occasionally, they're indoor cats, but here and there, one or two have gotten out at one time or another. And I've tacked up signs with, my phone number and a picture of the cat, tack up the signs on the telephone poles and around the neighborhood. Mm. I have never once called my senator because there was a cat missing. And according to J.D. Vance, that's what happened. That was the first thing he said. He said it was because he heard from constituents. Constituents were calling him to tell him this. I'm like, that's very strange to go to your senator for a missing cat.
Saying that the Haitian immigrants were eating the cats and dogs, which is a total lie. And just those phrases, illegals, are meant to dehumanize, and illegal aliens, that's just meant to dehumanize folks. But I just thought it was ironic and rich to hear. He criticizes the single cat ladies, so he wants us, Vance wants us to not be single cat ladies. Pick a lane.
Right, but he's very sympathetic when they go missing. Well, no, because later he explained that it was what did he say? It was a narrative that he created to get attention for his constituents, which clearly worked. I guess everybody thought, well, not everybody, but 50% of the voters thought that was a great idea.
Yeah,
Anyway,
crazy.
so you know what? I did work in Edmonds, Washington was the first place I worked after this time after the election. And it was the same sort of thing. I go in thinking, oh my gosh, I'd be surprised if people didn't just cancel and not come, or then when they're here, they're going to be so depressed or touchy about bringing it up or whatever. Not at all. It was packed, and it was the laughter was healing, and we need that because we need to get back in the game as fast as we can. Um,
Absolutely.
not, but not in a wounded sort of way. We just need to go because we have history and what is right on our side.
Man, it's so you were in Washington State and now you're coming to the other Washington.
Yeah, I like both the Washingtons. They're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Instead of Mr. Smith goes to Washington, Ms. Poundstone goes to both Washingtons on both coasts. We need you. We need you at times like this. Hey, so I guess when you're planning shows like this, do you have like one routine or a set of jokes? If Kamala wins versus then if Trump wins, do you have to like rewrite your set, or is it just kind of you
No,
riff at the top and then you go into your other routine regardless?
I don't have a set.
Yeah.
Uh, I I know people who do the exact same thing night after night, and by the way, they do it brilliantly, and people love it, and that's great. It's not what I do. I'm not even sure I'm capable of doing that. I have 45 years of material rattling around in my head somewhere. I always tell people I think my brain it looks something like one of those arcade games where you step into a glass booth and they blow paper money around you, and whatever you can catch, you can keep.
Jokes
I
flying around you in the middle of the air and just grabbing them and throwing them out at the Birchmere. I love
Yeah,
that
they
visual.
kind of are. I love talking to the audience. That's my favorite part of the night. Is where you from? What do you do for a living? Kind of stuff. And in the midst of those conversations, one of two things happens. Generally, which is somebody will say something that reminds me of a piece of material I have. In which case, I'll throw it out there, or else the conversation, or really, it's probably a hybrid of the two, which is in additionally, stuff gets said that's unique just to that night, that just so happens to come up in that conversation, and that's, there's something about it that it feels a little magical sometimes. I suppose it's no more magical than a normal conversation where some of the things that you say are things that you say all the time,
Yeah,
hi, how are you, right? Framework for a conversation.
right.
How are the kids? That kind of thing. And then there's other things that are unique just to that situation.
Absolutely. And
Now I have to let my dog back in because she's barking in the backyard. By the way, this goes on maybe 10 times a day.
if it goes 10 times during this conversation, that's fine because it plays into exactly what you're talking about. Of course, I have a framework of various things I like to hit, and in the past, this is our fifth time we've talked, so like I think we've covered a lot of your career highlights.
I probably have let the dog in and out while
Yeah,
I
so
was
many
on your
times.
podcast before. Hold on. Hey, Mo, come here. Mo. There you go. Sit. Sit.
Is, do you say is the dog's name Mo? Like Larry, Moe,
Yeah,
and Curly? Or do you have three?
exactly.
Three
Mo,
Stooges?
come on in. I have a cat named Larry, and I have another cat named Shemp, and I have Mo.
Um,
The Mo is Mo's the only Stooge named dog.
Gotcha. Well,
But
thank you. I'm
oh
glad
my
you. I'm
gosh.
glad you throw Shep a little love in there. That's like having a Zeppo cat or something. Like the extra Marx brothers.
Well, I know. I think Shemp was a little more active than was Zeppo.
Yeah.
And by the way, Shemp had a separate career. Shemp was in some other movies. For example, he was in a one of the Thin Man movies.
I
Um,
love those movies, by the way. If younger listeners have never seen Nick and Norval Charles in those Thin Man movies, you got to go back and watch them. They're incredible.
they're fun. Yeah, it's good fun. And currently we I don't know. We need all the sort of humanizing fun things we can get, because now what's going on now is nothing. Do you know there are some people who actually think Trump is president now? Like, I'm surprised at how, uh, how poorly educated, and I don't mean like from school. I just mean like just from living even to
Yeah.
go, oh yeah, well, he doesn't become president on the day of the election. I'm amazed that there are people in our country, voters, who think he's president now.
Yeah, and you would think after the whole what happened last time that that would be one thing people would remember that the election is in early November and then there's 2 months of trying to steal the election and
Right.
all the
Yeah.
false slates of electors and I say see a lot of people forget that and by the way, I got to say this disclaimer. We have Republican listeners, we have Democratic listeners. I've actually voted for both for president in my during my 40 years on this earth. I try to be bipartisan and governors and up and down the ballot. I've gone both. So I got to say that as a disclaimer. But what happened on January 6th, 2021, I don't know why that wasn't a unifying thing for the country to say this has got to stop. And it wasn't just that day, it was the months leading up with the false slates of electors and calling to find votes and
Right.
all of this stuff. Like, even if you're a diehard Republican listening to this, I want to reach through the radio right now. I lean a little more progressive these days, but I want to reach to my Republican friends right now and family and just say that, like, January 6th, everyone was outraged on that day. Trump's family, his Fox News figures, Hannity, all Ingram, all the rest were calling and texting him, "Call it off. You're ruining your legacy." If Mitch McConnell had any courage that next day, Trump should have never been able to run again. But he wasn't. He was spineless. And now we've had 4 years of sane washing him. We had Fox News, criticizing Liz Cheney during the congressional hearings. It became politicized immediately, like we would expect on the cable news channels. And we allowed it to fester for 4 years. Do you agree? Like, we sane washed him, and now here we are.
Yeah, I'm lost as to what's how we got here. I really am. Because when you say, well, to my Republican friends, it's no longer it's there it's not a matter of a difference of opinion about how, where we should we put more money into the Department of Defense, or
Right.
should we, it's not like, oh, we're more careful with the money, which, by the way, it doesn't, despite what they've used to say about the budget, has, never been true. Or
Yes.
maybe it was like, I don't know, maybe it was in Nixon's time, but I don't think so. But anyways, my point is that it's something entirely different at this point. You're not even talking about whether or not you voted for a Republican. You're talking about whether or not you voted for uh, a, an individual who has proven himself to be not worthy of the office and dangerous in every way.
Yeah.
And
It's November. We're about to go to Thanksgiving dinner table, and for every 4 years in our you're in my lifetime, you've been able to sit down and be like, "All right, agree to disagree. It's policy difference, whatever." You know what I mean? But this is different. You're seeing people saying, "I'm not going to various family events and whatever."
no, because it's bigger. It's bigger than what it was before.
Tried to overturn the election last time, and we voted him back in.
He stole the documents.
Yeah.
I haven't read all of Project 2025, but I've read enough of it to be
Yeah.
horrified. He's talking about shooting protesters in the knees. He tried to before. It's beyond. It's not just it. I mean, any one of these things should have been disqualifying. I'm telling you, I'm so confused by it. I really don't understand. To me, electing Trump is to Americans what beaching themselves is to whales. It's a it's a it's a strange behavior
Yeah.
that is that kills them. The whales kills the Americans, going to
Yeah.
kill democracy, and it's really hard to understand. And he loves Viktor Orban, by the way. I remember when Trump had a rally one time, and he's saying to the crowd, do you know who Viktor Orban is? By the way, his crowd didn't. And he's like, oh, he's a great man. He's the dictator of Hungary,
Yeah.
and he got in like Trump. He got in through an election, and then he proceeded to change the rules, and I forget how long he's been there. I think it's double digit years now, I think. But the point
2010.
is,
2010 was when he started in Hungary, I believe.
so he doesn't leave, and
Just like
according
Putin isn't leaving, and these are the people he models himself after.
yeah, and they'll have like pretend elections,
Right.
but they've changed the rules so that they don't have to leave. And Ruth Ben-Ghiat, she's the woman who wrote Strong Men, which is a terrific book about dictators. And my brain is so faulty in terms of, like, when I read a book, if I remember three facts, I consider myself a gifted genius. Uh, but I'm fairly certain that she says that it's once there's a dictator in office, that in a country that it takes double digit years to get back to democracy, on average. I mean, I don't think it has to, but on average it has.
That's
And
what's depressing about this.
it is depressing. And I think people keep thinking we'll somehow dip our toe in the water, and if we don't like it, we'll get out of it. Well, that's not how it works.
We dipped our toe last time. That was surrounded by all of, the quote unquote, guardrails and checks and balances last time. But this time, I
Yeah.
was just talking to Michelle Wolf. This time, it's like he's playing the video game, but he has the cheat codes and he's surrounding himself with sycophants and yes men and yes women. Like to me, like again, I say it again. Like, I know I'm leaning progressive and I'm reaching through the radios to people that might be listening to this that are rolling their eyes and consider themselves a Trumper. Like, I'm trying to reach you right now, you listener in your ear right now. Listen to his former chief of staff, John Kelly, called him an authoritarian. Mark Milley said he was fascist to the core. General James Mattis, H.R. McMaster, all of these people, even his former vice president, why didn't he run with him again? He tried to hang him on January 6th. Even his current vice president, J.D. Vance, before he tried to become vice president, was saying he was warning he would be America's next Hitler. Vance's words. So these are the people around him. And now he's going to have a Fox News host as his Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. I guess that's what he
That
wants.
is craziness on a stick. It's a weekend. I mean, most people never heard of the guy. I certainly had never heard of the guy. It's a weekend Fox News host who was he was wasn't it like a
He is a veteran, so it's not just like,
he's
it's
a
not like,
veteran.
oh,
He was in
yeah.
he's a veteran was in the National Guard.
Yes. I think he has two Bronze Stars. He has a couple. It's not exactly like a Rachel Maddow getting tapped, but you know what I mean. It's still
No, but he
not a
was not.
general of
Oh,
the.
geez,
Yeah.
Rachel Maddow is at least a genius. He's he was not that high up. He did have he had some sort of officer's rank, but
Right.
it's not that high up. But nonetheless, in charge of the Department of Defense
Of the Pentagon.
That's insane.
Yeah,
That's insane.
Actually, I want to throw out some of his other early cabinet picks. They're not confirmed yet, but God knows we might be at a point where he's going to try to throw out all the norms. That the old confirmation doesn't even matter anymore. Who the hell knows?
He's hoping to have the Senate. I think it is not there, so that he doesn't have to do Senate confirmation for any of his picks.
Which is ridiculous. But
well, it is ridiculous. But I mean, they may have, it's maybe because they're such buttlickers that he would get them in anyways. But I would really prefer that we go through every formality, every that we put them through the political colander.
The guardrails, the checks and balances. That's what it's supposed to be. Well, I want to throw out a couple of these early picks just in the ironies on some of these. Like, you can't make this stuff up. For Homeland Security, he wants South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, who bragged in her book about killing her dog. I mean, here we are saying eating the dogs is this quote-unquote threat to Homeland Security, but we're going to have the person that killed her dog. Like, you can't make this up.
Yeah. Well, that's in case Putin unleashes... Well, it wouldn't be put in case Mexico unleashes a wild pack of dogs on us. We got Kristi Noem at the helm.
The best,
No,
the
it is.
best, the best Homeland Security she did was standing, keeping him silent for 30 minutes at the end of that one rally, just not talking.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. If I had to do the ridiculous coaxing and babysitting and dance that she did on the stage at that rally
Whew.
in order to get anything, I wouldn't do it, let alone to get this position.
It worked.
You know,
Apparently, it worked. He's
it
picking
did
her.
work. I mean, he has had them all
Yeah,
auditioning,
yeah.
you know, and but it's more like, you know, it's more like your kids. It's been more like your kids' ballet recital. You know, they've all gone and done these just silly things in order to try to get his attention and to be the one. They used to in Massachusetts where I grew up. There used to be a talent show on Sundays, and it was called, I think it was called Star of the Day, maybe. So all the competitors on the talent show, it was a local television show. Um, all of the competitors would have to, at the end of the show, sing a song together. And the song was Star of the Day. Who will it be? It might be you or me.
Oh, wow.
That's so when Trump goes to do his confirmations, they should all have to sing that song.
That is so. I mean, that's basically what it feels like. I mean, RFK Jr. He wants him to run the health department. So this is the guy with the
Oh my
worm in his
god,
brain, the anti-vaxxer taking the fluoride out of the water or whatever. Like he came up
craziness!
and endorsed him and did his Star of the Day song and dance, and he paid.
He
Uh,
did.
Alina Habba, his lawyer, who couldn't win the Stormy Daniels hush money case, like lost these cases. Let's make you my press secretary. I don't get it. I don't
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I think it's because he doesn't want her as his lawyer anymore.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, she probably has secrets. I would. Alina Habba
It's all black.
probably has.
It's all blackmail at this point. I mean, all these people that I mean, like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz Trump roasted his wife, and suddenly is like is his biggest fan. Called him Little Marco, and just destroyed Marco Rubio, and then now all of a sudden is, hey, maybe you'll be my Secretary of State. And what did Nikki Haley get out of this? She could have stood her ground as the alternative, maybe even been the first woman. It could have been Haley versus Kamala, and we would have had a woman president either way. Or, you know what I mean? But so she runs against him all this time and could have been this alternative, and in the end just supports him anyway. But now he's like, nah, you're not going to put you in my cabinet. So what does she get out of it? Like this whole, they're getting blackmailed on golf courses or favors. I don't know, but it doesn't make it. It's like it doesn't work out well for any of these people. They never learn.
Doesn't seem to have. You know what? I can't stand. Hold it. I also have a chronic cough. Which surely, when RFK Jr. takes the helm, should clear right up.
That's why you're coughing.
Yeah, yeah. It's they often do this thing. The former, I remember the former Speaker of the House did it. Who was the guy? Who was the Speaker when Trump was in?
Boehner or before? That was before.
No, after Boehner.
Paul Ryan.
Yes. He did the same thing as Haley, which is did this ridiculous, when people would ask them if they were, supporting Trump, they'd say, I'm not there yet. Which means yes, but I'm gonna keep you coming back to ask.
Paul Ryan was supposed to be like this principled conservative, this respected, like a budget guy, right? Like a fiscal conservative and opposed Trump to the core. But in the end, cowtails to him. And now where is he?
Yeah. And by the way, he did not reduce the budget. He did not cut the fat or whatever it is that he said that he was going to do. And Paul Ryan is on the board of Fox. So I don't know who thought he had principles. He didn't.
I mean, it's bless you. Or do you say bless you on a cough? I guess it's just for sneezes.
No. A cough is just annoying. It doesn't get any religious. Yeah. Doesn't have any spiritual. No, it's just annoying. But I'm allergic to cats, and I have 10 of them. No, I'm not really allergic to cats. I'm allergic to everything, probably equally, not cats exclusively. Once you have 10, then there's tufts of fur that fly through the air, and anybody would choke when you inhale that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, there's a thing. I work theaters mostly. The Birchmere is one of about 4 clubs I work all year. The rest are like theaters. Uh, and the clubs that I work are music clubs like the Birchmere, which just has the greatest vibe in it. I love that place. But mostly I work these old theaters that were built in late 1800s or the 1930s or stuff. I work a lot of really old theaters. And there's a thing called stage dust, which is, the theater doesn't, they clean the front of the house. I don't know that anybody really dusts off the ropes that are, yeah. So I always have coughing fits when I go into theaters, and I think that somewhere I've inhaled little flecks of Houdini's skin.
I love it. You're just bringing that home. You're bringing a little pieces of Houdini home with you and coughing it all over your
Yeah, I
set.
am. I'm bringing home the greats. Excuse me. I've worked some of the same theaters that Mark Twain has spoken in before, and I'm like, okay, all right, I don't mind having him in my lungs. That's all right.
Houdini apparently is the greatest escape artist because he's escaped death and is still around in your lungs, carrying them around. He just needed a vessel.
Little flecks of, they say that's the majority of what dust is little flecks of skin, which is just disgusting.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. Well, hopefully you'll get pieces of the Birchmere inhaled.
I'll bet you. I bet you I've had some of the, Kev Mo's played there before. Yeah. I'll take flecks of Kev Mo's skin in my lungs. That sounds good.
When it comes out, when you actually start hacking, can you hear who it is? It's like Kev Mo, Houdini.
It would be good if I did. It would be good if I could identify itself. No such luck. But I know, when you're at the Birchmere, you're definitely. I always say, the notes of other performers are still stuck to the walls.
Is that phlegm? No, that's the Birchmere. Hey, I know you've been generous with your time, and I know we really went all in and trying to call out some of the craziness of some of these picks and everything. But what do you think that on the other side of it, the autopsy? What do you think the Democrats got wrong? I mean, did they underestimate Elon Musk getting in Twitter? And I'm not even going to go to the Starlink thing because now Democrats are tinfoil hats, but it used to be the other way around.
I think that Putin's streams of disinformation. I think Fox's streams of disinformation. That alone is enough to do in. Rupert Murdoch is Trump is his bitch.
Running the country, basically.
It is. You can't. There are homes where Fox News is on all day long. There are places where Fox News is on all day long. There are places where, and the truth is, when people would say, well, Joe Biden had bad approval ratings. I don't know why, because he, between the CHIPS Act and the Infrastructure Act, bringing internet to remote parts of the country that haven't had it.
Just getting us out of COVID, which was handled so divisively. A lot of people forget all the economic woes. That was during the Trump administration. And again, whoever was in, sure, COVID would have been horrible. But that's where it started.
Right. But Joe Biden wouldn't have thrown out the plan for how to handle a pandemic.
Right.
So he brought us back. We have, despite the fact prices at the grocery store have been stubbornly high, that's no longer because of supply chain. That's because when the CEOs boosted the prices and found that people would pay it, they wouldn't lower them again. I mean, they have to some degree, but that's where that comes from. Not, here's the thing, and I think they all make a mistake by doing this. Many of the economic factors that we as citizens cope with are actually not in the control of the presidency. Mm. And what they end up doing is they say, "Oh, isn't the economy great when it's good?" And then they take responsibility for it. The president doesn't, and and every president has done this. Right. And then when it shifts and it's not good, they take a hit for it. However, in the case of Biden, the truth is that we are the strongest economy in the world right now.
Yeah.
And the president doesn't set the price of eggs. They just don't.
And the price of gas, the price of eggs, a lot of that, it transcends whoever is the quarterback of the team at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I guess he could, by using our reserves or whatever in terms of gas, I guess that maybe was part of what lowered the gas prices. But anyways.
But now everyone's Googling, what is a tariff?
Oh, isn't that funny that they didn't know?
We're going to vote them in, and then they hear it, and then they say, can I change my vote? Is the other top Googling trend. It's just, I mean, I don't, but do you think they should, I mean, hindsight's 2020. Do you think the Democratic side should have just rode the horse of Biden all the way? Or do you think it was smart after that first debate when he clearly, it was hard to string together a sentence? Was it good to try to get Kamala in there? Actually, I don't think Pelosi even, this is my take. I don't think Pelosi even wanted Kamala. I think she wanted a brokered convention. And then I think on his way out, Biden did a final switcheroo and was like, okay, fine, I'll endorse my VP.
Honestly, I don't know what they were all thinking. But I think the outcome probably would have been the same one way or the other, largely because of disinformation. That, it's no surprise that Putin, one of the, biggest dictators of all time, chooses disinformation for a weapon. They don't, dictatorships in the main have changed, the way they do things. It's not necessarily stormtroopers coming in.
It's disinformation and compromise.
Yes, and that's largely done because of the way we get information now. And I'm sure you knew this already, which is that in the aftermath of this election, on the Russian news, they put up naked photos of Melania.
That is a warning shot that says we can take you down. And one of Putin's aides actually said, I have the quote, to achieve success in the election, Donald Trump relied on certain forces to which he now has corresponding obligations. As a responsible person, he will be obliged to fulfill them, end quote.
Did you get to the part about JFK?
Explain.
That the ending of the guy's statement is that, or he could have the same fate, or he could end up like, or I'm paraphrasing now, JFK.
Well, this is not Paula Poundstone saying that. You're just quoting what is Russia put out.
Right, but I'm not quoting directly. I am paraphrasing because I can't remember the quote directly.
There was a veiled thread in there. And so, but that's what's scary about all this to me. And whether we, a bunch of people I know said, "Oh, we're voting for Trump to end these wars," but no, it's just he's gonna bow to Putin because whatever happened in Helsinki, it's the same stuff. And Putin wants us to pull out of NATO, and Trump will probably oblige that. Ukraine will probably, whatever this deal that, and by the way, why is Elon Musk in that meeting? Why is Musk with Trump meeting with Zelensky? That doesn't make any sense to me. But they're just going to land to Russia.
We don't have to worry anymore about, the threat of World War III, because fortunately we have a weekend Fox host at the helm of the Pentagon. We should be fine. What could go wrong there?
That's all it's going to take. And then in Israel and Hamas, I'm sure they'll just snap their fingers and declare victory. They're going to declare victory on both of those fronts, and Fox News will spin it so the listeners say, yay, Trump ended it. But to what end? What favors? What did we actually give up? Who's actually has the compromise on who? Like, that's the real story. People got to dig deeper than what Fox News is telling you. You have to.
And by the way, never get your news from me. I have opinions and shreds of facts. But I would double check anything you ever hear from me with a. That's very important, by the way, which is when you are looking at Twitter or some sort of social networking thing, or you hear somebody like me talk, it's really important that you make sure that you back up that information with a finding a reputable source, a news source, an actual news source, to be certain that what you think you heard is true.
You got to fact check it.
There's a terrific website, a terrific organization. If you go to newslit.org, it's a website that helps you figure out what's real and what's not.
I love it.
I find it really, really helpful. I have to admit that occasionally I forget to go through the steps that they recommend in verifying things. But in these times, it's going to be more and more important.
But this conversation has been lit. Newslit. Paula Poundstone at the Birchmere in Alexandria. Invite them on out on the 22nd and 23rd.
Can't wait to see you.
All right. Hey, thanks for doing this.
All right. Take care.
All right. We solved the country's issues.
Thank goodness.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.